Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby, and tomorrow Frontline will be returning to World of Tanks, so it's the perfect time for me to give you a refresher course and a guide to how to hopefully have some more results like this, so that you can also be getting like over 1 million bonus credits per hour from each of your boosters. Frontline is without a shadow of a doubt your ultimate opportunity to make credits inside World of Tanks, outside of the holiday ops season, where all vehicles are going to be making large amounts of credits from the boosts once you get your holiday ops level up. However, unlike holiday ops, where you usually have to buy a load of loot boxes to be able to get that credit booster up quickly, Frontline is accessible for everyone, and of course you're going to kind of need some premium tanks if you want to make a decent amount of credits. You can still make, albeit a significantly reduced amount of credits, with your regular tech tree tanks too. So right off the bat, let's talk about the economy that you will have inside Frontline. Having a premium account in Frontline is going to be 50% more credits, so this is the perfect time to either use some gold or just try and participate in some kind of an event to be able to get those extra premium days. Your next opportunity will be make sure that you remember to use your boosters before you go into battle, as unless things have changed, you're not able to activate personal reserves before you go in. Or shall I say, sorry, when you're inside the battle, so make sure you activate them at the beginning. The next big tip that I'm going to give you, which is a little bit filthy, is that if you are able to invest a lot of time tomorrow, maybe you're on holiday, it's the perfect time to just grind Frontline. And if you can be bothered to do like 6 hours of Frontline grinding as soon as the event opens up, or even towards the afternoon before all of the more casual players get home from their jobs, then what you can do is, if you invest that time early before everybody's warmed up and refreshed and focused on how to play Frontline again, the farming is so much easier on the first day, and then it progressively gets harder and harder and harder. And one of the key things that happens for Frontline is that players have to level up their vehicles to be able to, or should I say, level up their overall account to be able to get the reserves. So what this means is that on day one, most people aren't actually going to be going into the game with the correct reserves. You know, there won't be so many minefields, there won't be so many inspires. And so if you invest the time early on the first day or the first few days, then you can quite often max out your reserves, take the correct ones, and then completely punish a lot of players who haven't managed to get the through the battle pass and to have the truly desirable configurations. Now, while there are 3 different game modes, you've got Standard, Battle, Operational Support, and Twist of Fate, I'd like to clarify that even though Twist of Fate allows you to pick seemingly reserves at random, you get an increased chance depending on what reserves you put on your vehicles. So if you want to get those minefields, then make sure that you do put minefields on your tanks, as you're going to have a higher chance of getting them. The next thing that I would recommend is that if you have any of the ultra rare credit boosters, the 100% increased credit boosters, I would thoroughly recommend burning these on the first day, again, before players have managed to catch up, when hopefully you've managed to progress enough through to be able to start to get the really powerful abilities. And when you've got all of those abilities that you want, unlock those boosters, put on your try-hard tanks, and you'll be able to make millions of credits per hour. The next thing to mention for clans out there, that hopefully some of you are planning credit boosters for your clan mates, as this will substantially increase your credit income by up to 30% if you are in a top tier clan. And so for all of you out there who haven't really thought about joining a clan before, it might be a good idea to start looking for a clan that is planning to run some credit boosters during the upcoming Frontline week. So now I want to talk about how I would play each of the maps if all of you are a little bit overwhelmed and don't know really what attack paths work for me. So for me personally, on the Normandy map, B is the easiest one to capture. A is possible, C is very tricky because it's easily defendable. So I would thoroughly recommend, if the game spawns you at C, just leave. Just leave, go all the way to B, and then help attack B. And if you spawn A, leave A, go B, push B, and once you've broken through B, then what you can do is you can cut round and take A instead, and then you can push to D, and then you can wrap round once you've taken B, A, D, and this is not a bad route, trust me, this isn't a bad route, and then wrap round E, take an E, go to C, go to F, and then enjoy the rest of the game. For craft work, I think once again, B is the easiest one to take, but also defend at the same time. If you have players who sit at the back with the engineer skill, then they can actually prevent you from capping completely unless you go around the corner to be able to take them out. But I still feel like rushing B is a lot easier. If you're a sneaky player and you manage to get in towards the A cap, probably in a light tank, you can actually manage to full cap that out if the defenders, which quite often don't leave kind of like the hills and the buildings to come and defend. I really think C is quite hard to cap apart from one niche area where you get behind this barrier inside the C cap, usually in a very small tank, and then that forces your opponents to have to risk their tanks to come and get you. Apart from that, my favorite route on this is to go for B, then try and like swamp in from the side to take A, then go to D, then flank for E, and then finish up with C and F. Very similar to what I do with the Normandy map. For Fata Morgana, this map, again, I feel that B is probably the easiest to take at the beginning. After that, I would probably, again, wrap over west towards the A cap, then really pushing E and D. It's whatever your team is sending more tanks against your opponents and whatever they aren't defending. My biggest tip by far is that you need to adapt to the situation. And the best way to do it is to actually hold your tab key once you look at the different fronts and then see how many defenders there are. You should always be thinking ahead to go and push a cap circle where you have more tanks than the enemy. There is 0 point in staying on a front where you have equal numbers to your opponents unless you really think that you're going to be able to overwhelm the scenario. And the worst thing that you can ever do is stay on a front where your opponents actually outnumber you, because you're never going to be taking the cap circles, and it's a big waste of time. And when you're a defender, that's also the same situation. You never really want to be on a front where you overwhelm your opponents unless you want to just go in and farm them. But then get out of that front as quickly as you can. Always look for the front that's about to be overrun, both when you're attacking and when you're defending. And then make sure you go and get those juicy cap defense points. I personally can get general in about 90% of my games. I quite often get general 13, 14, 15 games in a row, and that's purely from using that tactic and by playing powerful vehicles. So now I want to talk about all of the different vehicles that I would recommend would be absolutely god tier for Frontline. So for your light tanks, personally it's LT432, EBR 75 as the only S tier vehicles, and then everything else, you know, the German lights, the Leichter, the HWK 30, they can all be used. If you're a free to play player, you might want to take the Lynx instead. Apart from that, there's not too many options. And one of the things I'd recommend is that I always like to spawn in a light tank first as I'm entering, because it always allows me to then be able to leave a front. I think one of the worst things that you could do is to just spawn in a heavy and then be on one of those kind of fronts which just really isn't, you're not able to progress. For the mediums, the best tanks in my opinion are vehicles like the Kampfpanzer, because it's fast and it's furious. I absolutely love the Italian auto reloaders. I think the Prototipo 6 probably is the best frontline tank. Now, of course, if you don't have one of those, then you can get yourself the Progetto 46 instead. Some people very much enjoy the Borask, but for me personally, it gets absolutely outclassed by the Progetto, purely because when you get Inspire on the Progetto, man, having an auto reloader just feels so darn good. AMBT, an option, but it's just a little bit too slow. Now for the free-to-play tanks, I'd recommend the Pantera, probably. And apart from that, you really don't have too many options. Maybe the UDES 14.5 could be a good one as well. For heavy tanks, again, I don't really play heavy tanks in Frontline. I personally prefer the speed to be able to get around because the maps are so large. But premium heavy tanks, that can work. I really do like the auto loaders for just going in and having those kind of crunch engagements. Something like the Simur SM is absolutely fabulous. If you have a BZ176, well, that's absolutely filthy. And a Project Iron or a Skoda T56 will also work out for you. For the non-premium heavy tanks, it's really whatever you have in your garage, but I think a bit of a dark horse can also be the 50-100, purely from having that gigantic magazine and being able to go in and clip out an opponent, and then hopefully being able to get into a heal area. For your tank destroyers, there's only one that I personally really like, and that will be the TVP 100. This thing is an absolute daddy with those wonderful HE rounds. And apart from that, all of the tank destroyers will work, you know? You could even make the SVAC work with that awesome double shot potential. For all of you players out there who are free to play and you don't have money to spend, but you've got bonds to spend, you could even make a T-103 work. If you're a tech tree tank destroyers, you could play something like a Borsig. A T-28 prototype might give you flexibility for holding positions. And remember, because people don't generally fire nearly as much gold inside Frontline, then the turret on this thing does hold up a lot better. And then, of course, the Charioteer is also a sturdy, reliable vehicle, both with its regular variant and also the premium variant. Next up, I want to talk about the rewards in Frontline. There's a great opportunity to be able to get Battle Pass points. You can get yourself those Combat Reserve points, which allow you to get more powerful and use better reserves. You can get yourself, I believe, more than 500 bonds, more like about 600 or 700 bonds for playing through the entire event. There's some experimental equipment to be able to get your hands on, a Universal Manual, which is worth 2 million credits worth of crew training. But really, the most important thing from these Frontline days are the mentoring licenses. The mentoring licenses are absolutely amazing. And for all of you out there who don't know what a mentoring license is, I'll give you a brief overview. If you go to Quick Training, you'll see there's a mentoring license that you can click. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to transfer crew experience from one crew member to another. But keep in mind that that crew member is going to he's going to disappear. It's melted down. So the absolute utter best way, and I think the only way that you should use your mentoring licenses, considering how rare they are, is what you want to do is you want to try and find a crew member that, for example, doesn't have 0 skill, but has like about 5 crew skills. So, for example, my Sheridan crew here would be absolutely perfect because this crew, no 0 skill, it will take them forever to be able to get to 6 skills. Like, take a look at this. It would require 7.5 million experience to be able to get this guy to 100% of his 6th skill, where he'll be capped out. That is thousands of games, even with a premium count, even in premium tanks, and even while running crew training boosters. Thousands of games for him to be able to get there. However, consider this. Imagine I used the mentoring license and I melted down poor Toby, who even though has fought 2,000 battles, still hasn't even finished his 5th skill. And then I melted him into a crew member that has Brothers in Arms as a 0 skill. What this would mean is that Toby would fuel a new crew member who would instantly go to 90% of their 6th skill. And so it's effectively like getting a whole extra crew skill for free, of which there are 3 available if you're willing to grind through Frontline, available at ranks 5, 10, and 15. So that is a tremendous advantage, and that will be the only way that I recommend that you use those precious mentoring licenses. Find crew members in your garage that have got close to finishing their 5th skill and don't have 0 skill Brothers in Arms, and melt them down into a new recruit that has 0 skill Brothers in Arms, and you will get a whole extra crew skill for free. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was my mega guide to Frontline, and I hope that more of you are going to be able to achieve notifications like this, where you're getting over 1 million bonus credits from using a single booster inside World of Tanks. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope this video was useful for you. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let everybody know your best tips for Frontline in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.